So welcome to a hiking video on the Polar Vantage M3. We're going to test out all of the navigation features, the mapping, GPX files. Let's dive into it. Okay, so let's get started. So there's a couple ways that you can navigate in the watch. The first way is to swipe through all of your widgets. You do that by going left to right, and you can select on the navigation. Now we're going to run into our first hurdle here. You have to calibrate this compass quite a lot, and we'll click on navigation though. But yeah, we've got the altitude of 56 meters above sea level. That sounds about right, to be fair. And I like that you can see an altitude graph as well. You can see that in the last 6 hours, and you have the option to calibrate. And then we've got the compass down here, which unfortunately we're going to have to calibrate. So let me show you how painful this can be. So we'll click on calibrate. Now wearing the watch is almost impossible to do. My wrist doesn't turn that far. So to calibrate the watch, you're going to have to take the watch off of your wrist to start. And it has a really awkward strap as well. And look how much you have to slide it all the way down. And then it's just clicked. Now it says roll up. Then it's saying roll to the left. Now it's saying roll to the right. And you would think that you're finished here, but you're not. We still have to roll it in a ball all the way around and tick off all of the green bits. And then you can see there I've done like a circle, but that one wasn't good enough, and these ones didn't even register. So I'm knocking it that way, I'm rolling it back into a ball, and I've ticked off all of my green pops. And then you'd think, oh, you must be finished. Nope, you need to turn the watch completely face down. So yeah, doing this on your wrist, you can't be done. And if you need to recalibrate it when you're out in the mountains, this is just going to be an absolute pain in the butt. So you've got to take it off your wrist, definitely, flip it round, leave it for a few seconds. It's just vibrated, I can flip it back round, and now it says the compass is ready. So you're going to have to do that multiple times a day. And I think Polar definitely need to improve the software on that one, because that is ridiculous. So if I just bring the Suunto still into the frame here, I've not used the maps or the compass literally in weeks on this. So yeah, the compass needs calibrating as I expected. Now, let me show you how quick this is. You've just seen what it was like on the Polar. So on the Suunto race, it says wave in a figure of 8. So I'll do 1, 2 and come back. My compass is calibrated. Look at that. I literally went 1, 2 and my compass was calibrated. You saw the faff I had with the Polar. With the Suunto as well, you're able to do this on your wrist. You can literally just wave your wrist round and it will be calibrated in the figure of 8. Here, you have to take this off your wrist because you're going crazy angles. You've got to flip the watch round and it's just an absolute bane. Once the calibration of the compass is done, I will admit it looks quite cool. If I spin my body round, you can see the watch moving around. I guess maybe the animation on the Suunto is more clearer. To my eyes anyway. I'm not sure how this looks on the camera, but I do like the way this compass looks, and I like the massive big arrow and that you're getting southwest. I guess another difference to point out on the compasses here on Suunto, you're getting the elevation. So if you're on a mountain, it can be quite useful to know what your elevation is on your watch, but also what the pressure is as well. So you know if there's a storm coming, a rainstorm, thunderstorm, or maybe you're due really nice weather and like cool cloud inversions, and you can work that out from the barometer down here. With the compass on Polar, you're just going to get the compass. Although it does look cool, and as I said, I like that arrow. But it would be nice if you could tap through on this and see some more things, but you can't. Now the compass is calibrated. If I come back out the widgets, and I guess this is something that I'm not a massive fan of with Polar, is that with the touchscreen, you can't actually use it to navigate through the menus. On the Suunto, if I'm done, I just swipe all the way out and I'm back to the watch. I can scroll up to my sports, I can scroll through my widgets, I can click on them, I can scroll out. With the Polar Vantage M3, I'm stuck here and I have to actually use the back button, which isn't too bad. That'll get you out of the widget, and now I can swipe through my widgets again. But it's just a bit annoying that you have to use both. You can't just use the buttons and just use the touchscreen. If you're someone who likes to use the touchscreen, you have to use both, which is so annoying. But what I will say is this animation here on the widget, if I show you the compass widget for the Suunto, so now the compass is calibrated, you'll see as I turn my watch, the widget's going to move around. But to be fair, look how cool the Polar is. As I turn this watch around, the widget moves and you get like the compass effect. So I really like how subtle and how smooth that is. The bad thing, I guess, is that the Polar takes up the whole screen, whereas with the widgets on Suunto, you're able to see multiple widgets at one time and then click into them if you want more, which is probably what Polar should do in the future, to be honest, because it's really weird. You've got this swiping through widget system that goes from left to right, but then you have buttons that go up to down. So for you to go from left to right, you have to press the up and down buttons. So I'm pressing the up button and I'm going left. I'm pressing the down button and I'm going right, and none of it makes sense. Whereas with the Suunto, you've got this scroll wheel, and when you scroll down, it goes down, and it's just much more intuitive, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. What used to be quite ironic is Suunto's software did used to be very similar to Polar's, where you had this swipe through menu and you went from left to right. The way they utilized that is you pressed this middle button in. So rather than using the up and down buttons, you could use the middle button, which just made a lot more sense, to be honest, in my opinion. Right, so once you want to actually look at the maps, you'll click onto your widget and you'll go on to maps here, and it will tell me that I've got the European downloaded, which is great. You're going to get 31 gigabytes to download more maps. It is a bit interesting that I've taken up 17 gigabytes already, and I've only got North America and Europe on here. So yeah, they're quite big files, and I guess with the map manager or Polar's map manager, however it's done, you can pick and choose what maps you want. So to dive into the map, you can click on here or click the little kind of search button, and when you do that, it's going to load you into the maps, and this is my position, this is where I'm stood. You can use the up and down button to zoom right in, and to be fair, the refresh rate on this is absolutely fantastic. If I were to show you this compared to the Garmin Fenix 8 that's on my wrist, you'll be blown away how slow this £1,000 watch is compared to Polar's. This is the titanium Suunto Race S, and this is the Polar. So we've got the location on both of the maps. I'm just going to show you scrolling speeds. So there's me kind of scrolling through. I would say that the Polar does feel slightly quicker, to be honest, with the refresh rate, but both are miles ahead in terms of how they compare to Garmin. If you just notice how I'm zoomed in though, so I've got 25 meters on the Polar Vantage M3 and I've got 100 feet on the Suunto, and if I zoom out, so let's zoom all the way out and you'll see how far I can zoom out. So we're now at a mile, now we're at 2 miles, now we're even further, we're at 5 miles. So you can zoom out to 10 miles on the Suunto Race S Titanium. On the Polar M3, you can zoom out to 3K. So there's a little bit of difference here in terms of what you can see on the two watches, yeah, how much detail you're gonna get and how far you can dive in and out. So there's a little comparison for you. I guess the zoom in speeds as well, fairly similar on both. Maybe actually for zoom in speeds, the Suunto is actually a bit quicker. As I scroll this wheel and it kind of reloads the page, slightly quicker. Zoom in again. Yeah, it does look quicker. If I just zoom out though, oh, and even zooming out, it does look fairly quicker as well. So it seems like the refresh rate is better on Polar if you like to scroll and look around your maps, but if you're zooming in and out really quickly, you're going to have better refresh rates on the Suunto. So when you're in the map, let's have a little play around. What can we do? We can recenter. So let me just explain that. If you are to scroll away from your current location and you're going to go and investigate something that's a mile down the road, and you're like, oh, hang on, I don't know where my actual location is, you press this middle button and you can recenter the map and it will take you back to where you are. You can also press the middle button and look at your location. If I click that, it's going to give me the coordinates. I've blurred this out for you, but I'm getting DMS, I'm getting DD, and I'm getting DMM. And if I scroll down one more, we have the dreaded compass calibration, which I can go through for the 5th time today if I want to. And then the current maps. When you're in the map widget, I don't think you have the ability to load up a GPX file, so that's something that you can do on other watches such as Coros, Suunto, and Garmin. So we're going to come out of this and load an activity now. So I've showed you the map widget. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Let's go into an activity now by pressing this button here on the side. There's lots of buttons. There's one at the top, one down below, and then 3 on the right hand side. So it can get a bit intense, but you do get used to it. So if I press the back button, I get into the activity menu. So we're going to start an activity, and this is where you select your map. So unfortunately, you have to do it from the activity itself. So I'm walking outdoors. So I'm going to go to walking. We'll let this little GPS signal go green, which shows us the watch has got a satellite signal. Bearing in mind that I'm stood directly under trees at the minute, so this is all real time, and that was nice and quick actually. Then you're going to select this settings button to access the maps. We'll go down, and then you've got to scroll through until you get to routes. Here we go. So we've got the Wales next to sea route, and we've also got the Grit X2 Pro route. So these 2 routes I've added onto the watch. They're GPX files that I've made. Once you've got your route selected, you can see the distance of the route. You can see the title of the route. I've called it Grit X2 Pro because I was struggling to send it to the watch. Down below, you can see a visual representation of what the route looks like. It's like a zigzag that I've made. And you can't click into this, unfortunately, but it does show you an overview. Then you've got the altitude, so you've got like the climb profile. If you're climbing like Scafell Pike like we were last week, me and Erin, you'd see the massive climb on this elevation plot. But what's really cool about Polar, and I think it's what sets it apart from brands like Suunto and Garmin and Coros, is how easy it is to add a drinks reminder and also a carbs reminder. It just brings you back to who this watch is made for. It's made for triathletes and people who are really into multi-sport, who maybe want to dabble with hiking, I think, is their target audience. So we've selected our route. We can start the route from the start point, the mid route, the end point to reverse direction, and mid route to reverse direction. So what I don't like about this is when I went to the beach, I forgot to start my maps. And then when I went to go select my maps, it only gave me the option to start from the start point or the midpoint. But I wanted to start the route from like, you know, half a mile from the car park. And it doesn't give you that option to just kind of start the route and just jump straight onto the map. So I'm going to test if they fix the software. We'll select start point. And now we've got the map selected. You can see that there's an actual picture of a map here, just signifying to us, the runner or the hiker, that we've got a map selected and a route loaded on. So we're going to start an activity, and this is it. This is navigation with the Polar M. So you can see where our location is, and you can see how far I need to get to the start point of our hike. So we're going to start heading that way and see what happens. Whilst you're in the activity, before we start walking, you can click through the menus by doing up and down. So we can see the duration, we can see our music controls. It's great that you can do this on Chorus, you can't, on Suunto you can. We've also got my heart rate, we've got the elevation profile, the percent of the grade, climb, and the decline as well. So I think that's quite cool. You've got all that information. And I do think if you're someone who likes to track your vertical climbs but also vertical descents, Polar is a good option. We have the heart rate graph here, so it's just plotting the heart rate graph of our minimum and maximum and average, and then back to the route here. And again, whilst you've got the map loaded, you can click into it and you can pan and zoom. You can look at your location, which is the coordinates. You can end your route, you can reverse route, or you can change your route to something else, or you can have a look at back to start. So we'll check that out in a second after we've started walking. You can change the map orientation. I actually prefer it to be track up, not north up. Track up stops working with furthest levels. That's a bit annoying. You'd want it to just kind of work, wouldn't you? You can see there as well, it's not as smooth as I was hoping when you turn the map. So as you can see, we're really close to getting to the start of our route, but we're actually a little bit further away than you might think. I'm just going to zoom in to 25 meters and we're going to continue hiking, and hopefully we'll get an on-course notification really soon. So we've got the notification there letting us know that we found the start of the point, and we're just going to continue hiking up. What are other things I've noticed on the watch? We've got the distance here, so the kilometers. We're heading all the way over there, and then we're going to turn left and make our way across the field. So there we go, we're hiking along and heading towards our first turning. It's nice to see how much Polar has improved their navigation. So the GPX file is loaded in blue, so I know what path I need to follow to stay on track. But also, most importantly, and Polar have added this because I didn't used to have it, but the red track on this map is the path I've traveled, so it's a breadcrumb trail, and they've added that, so now you can retrack your footsteps. I think I made this GPX file on the Suunto app, but it highlights one of the weaknesses of Polar, that you don't get like a map creation feature on the Polar app, so you have to use Commute. And to be honest, I've heard really good things about Commute. I've heard it's absolutely fantastic, to be honest, but it would be nice if you could do all of the navigational features all in one app. At the minute, I'm finding to get GPX files on this watch, you have to connect it to your computer and then download the GPX file onto your computer, send it to Polar Flow, and then sync your watch to Polar Flow. It's all just really confusing. So if I just show you the responsiveness of when I turn my body and how long it takes the map to load, you can see the Suunto, as I turn my body, it shifts. The Polar's still kind of pooping itself. Oh, it's locked on now. So you can see the sluggishness a little bit of the compass with the map. And to be honest, this isn't just Polar. There isn't really a company on the market that can match this responsiveness in terms of the map and the compass. If I really spin around quick, you'll see how big the difference is. I mean, it's wild. And this is super useful if you're up in the mountains trying to climb a grade 1 scramble. You're about to see the timeout feature on Suunto as well, which I feel like might help with battery life. So it times out, you can still see the route with that blue trail there. And it just prevents excessive battery drain when you're not looking at your watch and you put your wrist down. It'll go into this kind of battery saving mode where you can still see, if you look at the Suunto there, all of the mapped roads are all there in grey, the background is black, and then the route that we need to follow is blue. If you flick your wrist back up, the route will turn back on. So that's a great battery life feature. The innovation there is fantastic in terms of having an AMOLED screen, a small watch, and insane battery life, how it goes into this cool battery saving mode here. So as promised, I'm going to show you how it compares to the map on the Fenix. So to get onto the maps on the Fenix, you go into activities, you press the map button, and you can load up courses if you want. So we're just going to select to navigate, and you can see the difference here of what that might look like. You can scroll down on Garmin and have a look at like the map elevation. You also have the option to do the course in reverse, and Garmin's smart enough to know it doesn't need to get you, the user, to go, oh, are you halfway through the map? It just knows, and you can do it in the forward direction or the backward direction. So I think that's really cool. Let's scroll up to the actual route here. It's loaded. Again, you can see the zigzag of the map that we're doing. So we're going to select to do it, I guess. Look at that. So much information. But if you get Garmin, that's what you're here for. You're here for the data. Let's load up this map then. So we're going to do a hike and we're going to select go.
Point in 0 meters.
And you just heard my phone go 0.0 meters. So you get the Garmin actually speaks to you. So not only do you get turn-by-turn notification, but yeah, you can see the next fork here. So it will tell you where the next fork is if the trail splits up, so you don't get confused. With the rotation of the map here on Garmin, we're getting a bit better responsiveness than the Polar, which has just kind of stopped working, to be honest, as I turn around. I've not changed any settings. We're still in like the compass mode, and I've still got it to follow the track in terms of my direction of movement. But yeah, you can see the pace there of the Garmin. So it's nice to see at least it's working on the Garmin. And you've always got this pointer here pointing to the direction of north, which is super useful to let you know not only the direction you're facing, but where true north is on the Garmin Fenix 8. Let's scroll through here. You can see the elevation plot. You can see the distance that I've traveled, none because I'm recording the video for you guys. You can see the timer. I really like this compass feature as well. This is improved. I don't think this was on the last update. So fair play to Garmin. They've got a compass feature on this section, and we've got the arrow. Wow. Okay, so Garmin have improved since I've last made a video the navigational features on the Garmin. Let's scroll through here. We've got the ascent and descent, our speed and grade. Maybe this is because I'm in the hiking mode, I don't know, but this is all really good. We've got the sunset and time of day. We've got the compass here, and it's a bit more of a cooler elevation. And again, you can see how responsive this is. Again, it's not great and good practice to have two compasses right next to each other, but for the ease of use of the video, I'm just showing you side by side what to expect really. Obviously the performance is going to be better on both when they're not right next to each other, but you can see what the Garmin is like. And it'll be a little bit better than this when it's not right next to a metal object. And then you're back to the beginning again. So these are like all of your navigational features, but you also have your distance off course. So if you're a fan of the Geo Wizard, on Garmin, you can actually see how far you've gone off course from your track, which is super useful if you're trying to walk or run in a straight line. You can see your distance remaining, your ETA. It's not giving me that because right now I'm just kind of like stood still in a field. You get your waypoints, so you can customize these and make these equal your checkpoints and have checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3. And you can add waypoints to your water sources, your food sources, McDonald's, the pub, stuff like that. You've got the elevation plot here, and you can see how it's just a little bit easier to get through the menus here with a touchscreen, how nice it is to use on Garmin. And what I like again with Garmin is you have the choice to turn it off. So you can turn the touchscreen off if it's raining and maybe your coat is interacting with the screen and really annoying you. You've got all of those options. And you can customize your data screens, which is what you can see here. I've added like the compass and things like that. So that's what the Polar Vantage M3 looks like compared to the Garmin Fenix 8. Obviously, bear in mind the massive price difference here. We're looking at a sub $400 watch here compared to a $1,000 watch. So on the Garmin, we do have much better navigational features, but you can almost buy 3 of these watches for the price of 1 of these. So that's just one thing to know. So to end off this video, we're going to head back to start and just go back to where we started the video, which is over there in the forest. So how do we do this? Let's find out together. So we press this middle button. That's what I'm learning, this button right here, and then we go through the menus, back to start. A beeline would be to go from my feet, do not judge me, guys and women, all the way over to the start of our course in a straight line. But the same route would take us across this angle here where we walked around the field and then back to the start. So let's do that because I think that's a bit more complicated for a watch to do. I'm very intrigued. Change guidance type, yes, let's get you back to the start. Thank you, Polar, for getting me off this mountain. And wow, look at that. To be fair, my route was continuing off in that direction, but if I turn around and the compass is working now, I haven't got a Garmin next to it, I know to head off that way, then turn right, and then I can obviously zoom into this map to get me back to the start of this location. So I'm actually super impressed with the back to start feature and the fact that it readjusted the map for us. It didn't just kind of go, well, turn around. It's like actually showing us what direction we have to go and how to get there. And look at that, we can see the back to start home feature. Let's zoom right into that logo. That's where we started, over there in the bushes. So let's head that way and then wait for the return home notification. So I've cut across this field here and I've just skipped from that play triangle buttons. That's where I requested the back to start to the position where I am now. I just cut straight across the field rather than hiking across in that right angle. And yeah, as you can see, there's literally no breadcrumb trail whatsoever. And I guess there's an argument, do you need the breadcrumb trail on the back to start feature? I'm not sure, I'm not the person to answer that. I'm just saying maybe that might be something you guys want to know. So we go route end point reach. So I've just made it back to the back to start, and that's really weird. So now my breadcrumb trail is back. So that's not the end of the world. I guess you can undo your back to start if you need to see the breadcrumb trail again. So yeah, it's all a bit of a learning curve really with any new watch you buy, and that's just one thing to be wary of. You can get your breadcrumb route back, but you have to exit out of the back to start feature. Right, I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Polar Vantage M3 and the navigational features. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm gonna obviously use this watch more and get more used to it. There's definitely some software improvements that need to take place, but what's really cool is how awesome the hardware is here. The Polar Vantage M3 hardware is absolutely fantastic, and I actually like the design. I originally thought it looked quite effeminate, like it was designed for ladies, and I guess it is. But I'm actually liking the way it looks on my wrist, and specifically the way it catches the light, I think just looks fantastic. But anyway, you've heard enough of me talking. I hope you have a lovely hike, and peace out.